Well, hello everybody. John Crook. Welcome to this Spur of the Moment Communications and Cigars from, as you can see in my back here, a messy garage. But hey, we are out here in the garage. I haven't done a video in a while. I got some emails and I thought, you know what, let's do it from the hot and sweltery northwest, west central Wisconsin this evening. Good evening to all out there. Yeah, what more can we say? Welcome to this episode of Communications Cigars entitled Spur of the Moment, or On the Spur of the Moment, as I am enjoying my beverage out there. So I figured, you know what, tonight let's go ahead and do kind of a Spur of the Moment episode, since I am working out here. And oh, we got the radio on and everything in the background. And since I'm kind of preparing for an upcoming class that I'm going to be teaching, and I'm on the workbench here, I might as well talk about a couple things in regards to the communication realm. And I don't even want to show you my workbench. That's how messy it is. But we're going to talk a little bit about some questions that people have come up with. You know, kind of a little bit of a general kind of thing. Whoop, there. And I think more importantly, what we're going to talk about tonight is kind of on making repeaters and patches. So we're going to be talking about interfacing some things here tonight. This happens to be an E.F. Johnson cable, so that's what I'm kind of working on, is an E.F. Johnson radio. Here, let me grab one of the beautiful bricks. This beautiful baby right here, heavy duty radio, getting that set up for some of the classes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and what have you there. So good evening to all. I see a few people jumping in here on the live stream. So good evening, James, KI5OEB, and good evening, Anthony. So one of the reasons I jumped in here and wanted to do an episode was I got an email, and the email said, John, are you okay? And that's what it was entitled, John, are you okay? And I was like, what's that? And they said, we haven't seen you on in a while. We haven't seen you on maybe in about a month and change. Is everything okay? Well, yeah, everything is fine. It's just been busy. And for those of you that know, I wear many hats and everything. That's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know what? I got to kind of wear the other hat. And the reason I got to kind of wear the other hats is because if I don't wear the other hats, I don't make money. And if I don't make money, then I can't do the show, right? That's right. So that's why I haven't been around. But I am coming back, and I was like, you know, what's a good time to have an episode, those kind of things. And then finally, boom, it clicked. I got another email, and the question on the email was, John, you talked about repeaters in the past. So as I sit back in my easy chair here tonight, John, can we talk a little bit about linking radios, linking repeaters together? And not so much as linking repeaters together, but more so linking radios together to make a repeater. And I thought that is an excellent topic on there, because a lot of people like to do that. And a lot of people like to do the MCOM thing. And a lot of people, especially the hams and all those kind of things like that, we've got field day tomorrow in the U.S. So therefore, and I say the U.S. because I don't know if people are going to be participating worldwide or whatever. So I thought, you know what, that's would be a great time. I'm out here in the bench and everything like that. So why not show it out there? So first of all, once again, good evening, everybody. Now, we always have communications cigars. So let's talk about communications, but we're also going to talk about cigars. So it is a swelter. And by the way, don't mind, how can I do this? Don't mind the back there. Don't mind me in a t-shirt. It is literally like 89 degrees out here, folks, right now in Wisconsin. And there's like rain going to be coming in today, tomorrow. So it's like super sweaty out here and gross. So that's why I have a cigar. And I have a nice adult liquid comedy beverage. Yes, it is a Portillo's cup because I did have some iced tea earlier. And guess what? Now is iced tea. So, nevertheless, good evening. We got some more people popped in there. So good evening, Kevin, KD9TXI. Good evening, Evan. How are you? Good evening, Phil. How are you there? And who else on there? We got, I got a couple of people in direct chat. Oh, good evening, Sam. How are you this evening? Sam is one of the newer people that popped in here. And he's got Instant Messenger. I got Instant Messenger up there too. So good evening to Sam. So what am I smoking tonight? Well, tonight I have a acid deep dish. Now this is a unique cigar. I was waiting for a time to smoke this. because I'll tell you why. First of all, acids have a little bit of a sweet taste. But more importantly, it is a box press. So I'm going to kind of line that up with the camera there. As you see, it is box press. It's not round. It's box press. And it's a full, thick cigar on there. So acid, deep dish. I like the acids. If you're looking for something kind of sweet, it goes and it adds a nice little sweetness flavor to it. I just kind of enjoy the acids every once in a while when I want something that's got a little bit of a sweet taste to it. Especially the bigger cigars, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes the little ones, not a big issue, not a problem whatsoever. But when you get some big, huge cigars, sometimes, depending on the leaf, the wrap, and everything like that on there, that can really impact the flavor of there. So that's why I kind of like it on there. So that's what I have tonight. Now, without further ado, also don't mind the background noise with the fans. I got a lot of fans blowing on me. Sam just asked me, John, I heard a radio in the background. What do you have on for radio? Well, tonight I have my Kenwood VP 6000. It is a VHF radio, public safety radio. It's got a display on the top. I put the little stubby antenna on there. I am just listening to some of my local stuff on there. Just to kind of hear and see what's going on there in the county. So that's what I got for radio there. So good question. Thanks for asking that one there. So going to light it a little bit more there. But jumping into the main context, what is tonight's impromptu on the Spur stream about? And what tonight's impromptu Spur stream about is basically taking two radios and linking them together to form a repeater. So as we've talked about in the past, a repeater consists basically of having one radio, and that's going to be used for receive. We have one radio that's going to be used for transmit, and we have some sort of device in between, or we can directly connect them to one another so that when the receive radio receives, the transmit radio will transmit at the same time and send the audio from the receive over to the transmit line. Now, when this kind of happens, you have to have a couple things that go into play. Most people usually think about a controller, okay? And what a controller does is it basically controls the signal flow, the control flow, however you want to go ahead and say it on there. And basically what that means is that when a receive signal is heard on the radio, the receive radio, that controller can either use what they call a core sense, or it can use Vox. Now, or I should say audio, more so control. Now, Vox control works, but then it doesn't work. And here's why it works but doesn't work. It works because if you have a good controller that can really adjust the audio, fine-tune it, that works because usually when you need something that's going to be audio controlled, if you have bad audio, it's always going to wake up to it. If you have good audio, great. That kind of is problematic on there. Sometimes I've noticed when you're using something that goes by Vox control, what you'll end up going ahead and doing is you'll actually have it set up that it will pick up bad audio, or there might be a hum or something in there. Now, when you're using something that has a core or COS sense, so core is carrier operated relay, and COS is carrier operated squelch. And what that means is that when that receive radio receives a signal, the radio will have a separate pinout or a separate line or something like that that will go and either go active high or active low. Now what we mean by the difference between active high and active low is that you can have a pin or a point, in this case, on this DB25, yes, it's a DB25 connector that's on the radio. One of these pins on here will put out an active low, meaning when it hears a signal, it will move that pin to ground. Okay, that's active low. Something goes to ground. Now the opposite pin is that what they call it going active high. Now when you go active high in this case, what's going to happen is that same pin is going to go plus voltage. So it could be a matter of going plus 3 volts, plus 5 volts, something other than ground. Now usually if something goes active low, it usually is at a high state, and then you have vice versa. If something goes active high, it's usually at a low state. Not a big deal, not a problem. Sometimes radios, and when you start to get into commercial grade, radios such as these, you actually sometimes can adjust the programming of saying, hey, when it receives a signal, it's going to go active high, or when it receives a signal, it's going to go active low. Alrighty? On the shelf, you might be able to see back over there, I have some Motorola radios too. The Motorola radios are really great because if you get some of these old commercial radios that people don't like anymore, there usually is a program in this programming software or a pin that will allow you to switch it between active high and active low. So what's going to happen then is that audio comes in, the radio starts to receive, the speaker output, sometimes it's called speaker high, speaker low, sometimes it's called receive high, receive low. It's all depending on the manufacturer. But when those go active, okay, that audio comes out of there, you have your two speaker leads, that pin will then go either active high or active low. Now, based on the controller you have, if you're using a controller, what's going to happen is the controller's going to sit there and audio can come in those things all the time, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't care, doesn't care, doesn't care. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know is all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh, wait a minute. I'm being told, hey, controller, wake up. You need to take this audio you're receiving now, and now you need to send it to the transmitter. So it's coming in from the receive radio into that controller with that core cost signal, and then it goes out to the controller, or it goes into the controller, and then it goes out to the transmit radio. Now, once again, carrier-operated relay or carrier-operated squelch. It's kind of an interchangeable term, core or COS. So carrier-operated relay is basically saying when there's a carrier and it's got a sense on there, it's going to relay it out. That's usually kind of, in essence, a core signal, okay? Carrier-operated squelch is somewhat the same thing, saying, hey, when there's a carrier, I'm going to activate the squelch circuit on there. Those terms kind of come back into the old days and stuff like that on there. Basically, a lot of people call it a core sense. I call it a core sense on there. Now, what happens then is that when you have that controller, it's going saying, hey, I'm receiving signal, I need to pass it to the transmitter. Then the pinouts are going to go from the controller. It's going to go out of the controller, but into the mic on the actual transmit radio, right? Because you need to use the mic to transmit. So that's what's going to happen. The controller is going to put out audio onto the two pins to go into the mic high and mic low on that transmitter. Then what's going to happen is there's going to be a PTT pin. Now that PTT pin is either going to go active PTT is low or active PTT is high. Normally PTT pins are, and that's push to talk pins, to cause the radio or transmitter to transmit. Normally PTT goes active low. That basically means it's going to ground out. So what I can do is if I wanted to make this radio, let's say this was connected to a radio, I would find the PTT pin, and I'd put a wire into that pin, and then I would either find another ground or tap it to ground, and what that's going to do is when that takes that PTT pin to ground, the radio's then going to transmit, okay? If there's active audio on the mic plus and mic low, or like mic high, mic low, mic plus, mic minus, or something like that on there, guess what's going to happen? At that point in time, then, it's going to go and cause, when the radio keys, okay, it's going to cause that audio to go on and out. So that is, in essence, how you make the repeater. Now, do I always need to use a controller, John? And the answer is no. No, you don't. Now, why don't I use a controller, John? Well, the reason you don't need to use a controller all the time is because you might be creating a one-way patch. You might be creating a one-way connection. You might be creating something that you always want active. The reason someone would have a controller in this setup is for one or two reasons. Well, actually, maybe one or three. One, you want control of that connection. You want to be able to stop the receiver from causing the transmitter to transmit. Okay, fine. You disable your repeater. Two, you want to go and inject things into that transmitter. So maybe CWID, maybe voice announcements, maybe something else in there. And the actual third reason you might want to have a controller in place is because with the controller, you're going to have audio balancing or some sort of audio adjustment features. Now what that might mean is that you're going to take flat audio, so unmodulated flat audio coming like off that discriminator, coming in purely off of that receive radio. You might need to adjust it. You may need to modulate it. You may need to maybe filter things out on there. Okay? Some people don't want DTMF tones going across their repeater, or their setup. So when they key the microphone and when they go and send tones from their radios, the receive radio hears it. It goes into the controller, and the controller says, "Oh, those are DTMF tones. I need to mute it, mute it, mute it, mute it, mute it, mute it." Okay? If you don't smoke enough, guess what ends up happening? It goes ahead and goes out. So that might be times you want to have a controller in play. Now, with that being said, what I'm building here is going to be a one-way link. It's going to be a one-way, and I like to call it more so a feeder setup. So what it's going to do, and this is part of that class I'm going to be doing here. We'll explain about the class in a minute. I just got a message here in this minute. What class are you talking about? You said a couple times. So we'll get that in a second. What we're doing is we're taking a band and a format. And we're taking that band and format. So let's say we're taking UHF and we're taking DMR. Let's just say, our argument's sake. And I'm going to take and pull that in with that one radio, and I'm going to feed that DMR UHF signal that it receives into VHF P25. Argument's sake, right? Or maybe I want to take VHF next gen, and I want to take and feed that into analog 800. Whatever the case may be. Businesses do it all the time. This happens a lot. And what you're doing is you're feeding it. You're not cross-connecting. You're feeding it. And this is usually done, and this is what it's going to be in this case here, is we want to be able to take a signal from one band, from one situation, from one system, and just feed it into another band or system or whatever the case may be. And that's what we're doing here. That's all that we're doing here now. So in this case, I'm not going to put a controller. I don't need it to ID. I don't need it to beep and boop. I don't need it to tell time and weather and all that kind of stuff like that. What I need it to do is I need it to say, hey, taking the audio recovered off this radio from this band, from this digital format, everything like that, I'm taking it and I'm dumping it directly into that transmitter to go out one way. So in this case, what I'm going to do is that I need to determine on this connection for radio A, let's call it, I need to determine what is my core sense and then what two pins are going to be for my audio. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take radio B's cable harness, and then I'm going to find out which one is PTT and which one is mic high and mic low. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take my core to the PTT. I'm going to take my speaker high to my mic high, and then I'm going to take my speaker low to my mic low. And those are the three connections that I need. I'll make it even easier. Those are the three connections I need right there. I need my core to PTT, my speaker high to mic high, and my speaker low to mic low. And that's going to be it. That's going to be it. All it is. Now, one thing we talked about, the third thing with the controller, and this is going to be careful. This is where I need to be very careful on, is adjusting the audio level. Because when you're not using a controller, how do you adjust the audio level? How do you take that audio coming in from that receive radio, and you don't make it too high, you don't make it too low? How do you adjust that? So, if you're not using a controller, which I'm not in here, I'm going to have to make sure I'm using the speaker, external speaker connections. And then I'm going to adjust that volume using the volume control. Now this is the simple, easy, down and dirty way. Okay, that's going to be the simple, easy, down and dirty way. Other ways that can make it happen, other things that it can go ahead and do, we could add that controller to take the flat audio and we could adjust it on there. That is a way, yes. But once again, I'm just feeding. If I was going to be doing bidirectional, meaning I'm crossing from receiving on one system, going to the other, and then vice versa, receiving on this system and going to the other one, then I would want that controller, because now I'm going to have full duplex. Alrighty? So that it receives and it transmits and it receives and it transmits. And then that's what I'm going to have to do there. So that almost is like a crossband. We can almost arguably say it's a crossband. But that's where we're going along, and that's what we're doing today. Now, can this be done with any radio? Yes, it can. Can you do it with 2 handhelds? Yes, you can. The difference that it comes in with the handheld is that a lot of times the microphone connections, speaker microphone connections on a portable radio do not have a core sense. There's nothing to say, hey, it's receiving or whatever. Basically, you got audio, so like a speaker high, speaker low coming out of the connector going to the speaker on the speaker microphone. You have a mic high and mic low that comes from the microphone into the speaker. You have a PTT button, and then depending on, really, these days with microphones, you might have some buttons on there, but they're not going to give you a core sense of any sense or costs on there, okay? So what you then need to do is, if you're strapping 2 portables together, as they say, you might need to use Vox. Now, Vox can be used in a little bit of a better way. So we talked about Vox at the beginning, not using core sense, right? Vox is basically going to be, you run your speaker output into your microphone input, and then you set the transmit radio on Vox, and then Vox is going to go ahead and cause it that anytime it hears anything on that mic, in this case from the portable with having the speaker output, it's going to cause the radio to key up. Problem once again with Vox, as we talked about, is that when you go and have something set up for Vox, anything that is heard coming out of that receive radio is going to key the transmit radio. So as an example here, if on this radio, we have voice announcement stuff on there, right? So I'm going to put it up here.
Scan off.
So you heard how it just said scan off? Well, if I had this radio connected to another radio and was using Vox, when this radio went along and said scan off, it would have caused the other radio to transmit and say scan off because it's using Vox. Radios that have core sense on there, okay? Radios that have core sense on there, guess what? You're not going to have something give a core sense when the radio isn't receiving. So that scan off is generated within the radio. It's not generated because of a received signal. So what's going to happen is that radio, if I was to hit the button, scan off. It's not, yes, the audio's coming out that speaker audio goes into that controller, but the radio didn't transmit or create a core or cost. So basically the controller's sitting there and the audio's coming and going, scan off. The controller just doesn't give a damn. Really, it doesn't. But now if there's received audio, hey, oh, okay, I'm repeating what the signal is coming in here right now. You see what I'm saying? So that's an advantage of core costs over Vox. Now, does this mean that if the radio, like a handheld, if it doesn't have core sense, cost sense, you're always going to have to use Vox? No. And this is going to come down to how technically skilled and proficient you are in things. So, for an example, on here, and I wouldn't do this radio. This is too expensive. But other radios I might. So when there is a received signal here, and I'm gonna wait until a received signal comes in. Of course, nothing's gonna come in right now. But I don't know if you could see it right up at the top there. See a little dot? It's not actually a dot. It's a light. Okay. Let me see if I can turn scan on here. It's not a dot. It's a little light that comes on. It's a little LED light. So when a received signal is heard, that little light will come on. Not the display, but there's a little dot. Here, let me actually turn it to a channel when I transmit, and I can actually show you this here. Okay. So when I transmit, ready? You see how that light went red? Okay. It goes red when it transmits, but then it also goes green when it receives. So with that option, with the way that it's set up there. Okay, here we go. People are talking there. Okay, see that? How it's green? So what you could do is you can kind of be a surgeon here, And you can go into your radio. That's an LED. An LED is going to produce X amount of voltage. It's going to go from 0, right? No voltage, to a voltage. And that's going to be because it's lighting up the light. So you could tap off that voltage. And then what you would do is you would have an active high core cost. Now, the issue you're going to have is if you have a radio that has PTT active low, you're going to have to somehow convert that positive to a negative. And there's ways to do that, okay? There's many, many ways to do that, okay? I'll be honest with you. If you got into amateur radio like I did, or this when I was young in the 90s, you could go to Radio Shack and you could buy a crap ton of things. As a matter of fact, if you can't go to Radio Shack, because there's really none, I went to Micro Center, okay? Micro Center, I don't work for Micro Center, nothing like that. I'm just saying, I go to Micro Center, this is my new Radio Shack. A little bag of little test cables. And oh my God, look at that. Look at what those test cables can fit into. Anyways, so, here. For my fans watching. But what I can do then is that you can take and you can buy FETs, you can buy different little circuit components that you can sit down on a breadboard. They even sell breadboards, okay? And I'm not talking like a breadboard that's cutting for bread, okay? If you don't know what a breadboard is, please, for the sake of the hobby, go ahead and learn, right? But what you could do then is you can actually take and use some transistors, you can use some diodes, you can make little circuits. I guarantee if you're watching this right now, take it on Google, and you can go ahead, and I will even do it here how quick it is, and then you can create something that goes ahead and says, here we go, I'm going to do convert 3 volts to a ground sense. Okay, that's what we're going to put in there. Okay, and here you go, voltage converting down, can 5 volts to ground. I mean, there's different ways on there. Just once again, it's a Google search. Probably can't really see it, but you can. And we'll even type in ground sense circuit. There you go. There's some. Oh, kind of get it on there. You can kind of see. There's some circuits just from quick Googling that you can go and make it and everything like that on there that allow you to just do what I'm telling you to do. Just go ahead and create this. So there are ways to do that. So you're not having to be stuck in the world of Vox on there. So that's that kind of thing on there. But just because you can make a repeater doesn't mean you should make a repeater. And I'll tell you what, I'll be honest with you. Repeaters got me into the hobby. Okay, I wanted a repeater. I am fortunate enough that the first repeater that I ever used in my amateur world is the repeater that I own, and I'm the trustee of, and everything like that. I am so lucky. I am so lucky because repeaters got me into this hobby. That's what it was. All right, repeaters did. And not only did repeaters get me into the hobby, but it made me get into the commercial world to where I'm at today, that I have commercial repeaters. And I'll tell you, I love commercial repeaters. I love doing repeaters. I love setting up repeaters. I love linking repeaters. I could sit and talk to you about repeaters, mixed mode repeaters, everything like that all day long. I can. So, just because you make a repeater doesn't mean, or could make a repeater, doesn't mean you should necessarily make a repeater. And you know what? I got to do this. Everybody knows, because that's part of the signature show. You know what really bends my antenna? You know what really bends my antenna? Talking about repeaters is the understanding and respect that you have to give repeater owners and repeater trustees and people that spend time to doing repeaters. If you want to make your own repeater, more power to you. More power to you than ever. However, if you don't want to make your own repeater and you want to use someone else's repeater, be respectful, be kind, and be courteous, or pay money. Okay? That's really kind of what it boils down to. Making a repeater with 2 of these is great and fun. I have mobile repeaters. I love mobile repeaters. In my vehicle, which is, can't really turn the camera, but in my vehicle there, I have mobile repeaters. I have a repeater so I can take and go in on a frequency with my portable to my vehicle, and I can go out on VHF. I can go out on UHF. I can even go out on 700, 800 megahertz if I want to for public safety stuff. Okay? I can go out on commercial. I can go out on amateur. I can go out on different modes. I can go in analog on my portable and then cross over in the mobile to UHF digital. Okay? That's a repeater doing that. And then the conventionality of the repeater, though, unidirectional, meaning receive in, receive out. But then a mobile repeater works back and forth. So when it receives a signal, it spits it out to me. But what I'm talking about, digressing back to it, is be respectful of those people that have it. Repeaters take time and money. This here, all this stuff is, and actually usually a small amount of it. You can see the boxes back. Look. There, those boxes are right there. See where my finger's at? Those are repeaters. One amateur, but commercial repeaters. And guess what? Yes, they are pre-made repeaters. They have the mobiles, they have the controls, they have all that kind of stuff on there. They have the antennas. Yeah, repeaters cost money to do that. But also too, you see those things right there? Those are duplexers. That costs the money. The antenna cable, that cost. There's some antenna cable I got up there, and then see the antenna right there. That's one of them right there. I got laying down. That's where it starts to get into more money. So be kind and respectful of the people that have it. I hear so many people complain and crab about repeaters. Oh, I don't like this repeater, and it doesn't have this coverage. It doesn't. Well, maybe you know what? Maybe you don't have enough money to put it up on a high tower. Locations charge money. All right? Locations charge money. There's contracts, there's fees, there's requirements of water towers, of actual towers. Okay? Eventually, all the real estate in the world's going to be bought up. There's going to be, right? And they ain't making more real estate. And the only way you can charge for more real estate is to go up in the air. And how do you do that? You get a tower, you buy some land somehow, you put a tower on there, and now you're renting out or you're charging vertical real estate. And that crap is expensive, folks. Alrighty? You can easily be getting $150, and that's on a really good day for someone who really wants to be nice to amateur radio operators. To some places, I've seen $50 to $75 a foot. So if that antenna is 100 feet, that user that has their antenna at 100 feet, well, 100 times 50, I know I went to public school north of Highway 8 in Wisconsin, but guess what? You are talking about, let's do the math, $5,000. $50 a foot, 100 feet, right? That's $5,000 a month. Times that out by 12, you get where I'm going, right? Okay, you can see where I'm going on there. So, be nice to people that have repeaters. I do have to say that. Alrighty. Now, when is a good time to play with repeaters? Does all repeaters have to be in locations? No, they don't. They don't have to be in high locations. There can be portable repeaters. There can be incident repeaters. And there's a lot of people that do that. From an MCOM thing, guess what? That happens a lot. And GMRS is a great area to play with repeaters. Amateur radio is a great place to play with repeaters. Okay? Set them up. Alright? But repeaters do serve a purpose. But what really bends my antenna is those that just complain about repeaters, or they say this and this and this and this. It really is a hobby. It really is. That's not going to provide a high quality. Then if you have paying customers, by all means, then be prepared to say, hey, these people are going to crab and these people are going to complain. And I would too. If I'm paying out money, if you're charging me per month to go ahead and say, hey, you have 10 units on the system and it's $15 a unit. Okay, I'm paying $150 a month. that repeater better be top performing on there. I better have good coverage. Or if you're saying, hey, this repeater covers this area, it better cover that area. But the people that put money and time in the repeaters, you got to go ahead and you got to be able to do that. You got to be nice to them. Really, 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 you got to be nice to them on there. Alrighty. With that being said, guess what? I've been chatting on by 30 minutes or so. I want to thank everybody for tuned in. If you're not watching this live, catch up on the replay on there if you want to. We're going to get more content out. Maybe not be Mondays at 8 p.m. We're going to kind of move it around. And I know I said, I've said it this and this and this and this. I really like doing the channel. I think I still want to continue with the channel. I've had some other people have asked, hey, are you going to talk about other things? Yep, I got an episode coming up on railroad monitoring, which I was really fascinated to find out about railroad monitoring, which is totally cool on there. We got a repeater controller from actually ICS. Well, I'm not going to say who it's from or anything like that. We'll talk about it when we get there. But it's a good controller board. It's a repeater controller board. Kind of shows you the in and outs. We'll kind of go into that a little bit more. What else do I got? We're going to talk more about some commercial stuff. We're going to talk about MCOM stuff. We got a lot of cool things coming up here. So keep an eye out for the videos. Excuse me, on there. We're going to get the podcast going back again. People were asking about podcasts. I got someone who might actually want to do a podcast with me. And we might have that, and we might have some special guests from time to time on there while we enjoy our cigars, right? On there. So, thank you to everyone that has subscribed my channel. I appreciate it very much. You do mean a lot to me. We have actually our, technically, it's our 2-year anniversary coming up pretty quick here. 2-year anniversary in September. I got a few cool things for people that watch the channel, that subscribe to the channel coming up there. So stay tuned for that. I do appreciate it. I'm going to be out at some events and everything like that on there. Oh, class. I just saw someone messaged me about the class. John, you talked about a class. What are you doing? What we're doing is we're going to be doing a class, and it's basically entitled Introduction to Communications. And we're kind of excited about this. Myself and a few other people have been working on it. We're going to do it locally probably first, and we're going to kind of start that kind of thing. It's coming up here really quick, kind of tomorrow or something. But anyways, we're really looking forward to it. And basically what it is, it's going to be an introduction to the different types of radio services that are out there. So we're going to be taking a look at Part 97, such as amateur. We're going to be taking a look at Part 95, so your GMRS, FRS, MERS, CB, okay? Then we're going to be taking a look at Part 90 communications, so like business communications and that. And then once we kind of discover all those kind of things on there, like we talked about in our past episode, okay, the ECFR 47 parts, okay, on there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to kind of start diving into the different digital modes. So we're going to talk about all the digital modes. We're going to talk about P25 because that's public safety in the U.S. here, okay, that's uses that. We're going to be talking about DMR. We're going to be talking about NextN. We're going to be talking about Fusion. We're going to be talking about D-Star. We're going to be talking about all these different digital voice modes out there for a reference, okay? We're not going to be injecting opinion. We're not going to say, yeah, you know what, I like digital modes, but you should only use P25. No, we're not going to do that. The class is meant for people to get exposure to it. And it's not meant to be new people only. It is geared toward new people, but we're going to be doing it more so for, hey, I want to know more about communications. You know what? I'm an amateur. I don't know a lot about GMRS. I don't know a lot about business stuff. What are the stuff about business and stuff like that? Why should I go with a GMRS or instead of an amateur or you know, why MERS or whatever the case may be? It's going to be an introduction for you to form your own opinion. And I think it's going to be unique because I will tell you what, I see a lot of people out there that tend to try to foster, not everyone, okay? But I see a lot of people that are out there and they'll be like, well, I'll teach you about communications, but you should only use this one. That's not good, okay? That's not good. Education should be to inform someone of the core content material and then let that person take that material themselves, formulate it and understand it, and they form their opinions on it. Okay? We shouldn't be saying, well, there's P25, there's DMR, and there's NextDen, and all that jazz, But, really, if you really want to listen, P25 is the way to go. And why is P25 better than the rest? No, that P25 should be the way you go. That's an opinion. You know why it's better than the rest? That's an opinion. If it has a feature over another digital voice mode, that's a feature. That's not an opinion. But the class is really being designed to help people understand. And that's what this whole channel is about, Communication Cigars. We started out almost 2 years ago now, a little less than 2 years, but we started out with that purpose to discuss communications, to let people make their mind. And let's face it, with the world, the way the media is right now and everything, and news agencies and everything trying to make you believe and form your own opinion based on their opinion, no. We're going to present it to you. So stay tuned, because if we get it going locally, which we're working hard to do, then we might try to adapt it to a cyber thing and kind of do it from there. So that's what the class is about. So with that, I've been blabbering for 45 minutes now, almost here. I'm going to get back to smoking my cigar. I'm going to get back to enjoying my nice adult liquid comedy beverage. And I'm going to get to doing a fun thing, which is playing with radios and, of course, listening to the scanner. So until then, everybody, I want everybody to stay safe. I want everybody to make sure they are taking care of themselves. I haven't seen people in a while on the channel here, so I hope everyone's doing well there. Stay safe, please. It's the summertime. Remember, 4th of July is coming up, so if you screw up on the 4th of July, remember, the judge may have taken Monday off also then. So until then, if you have a nice cigar, you have a nice adult liquid comedy beverage, as I call it, sit back and enjoy it. And until then, take care, everybody.